I'm sorry, it cost how much? Is that Canadian or US? What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about cost of living in Castle Rock, Colorado. Cost of living has gotten outrageous over the last few years. Or has it? Is Castle Rock still a good value for the money? We're going to break it down and explore a few different aspects, including the housing market and what we have in store for the future of 2024. Guys, I'm Tim Cameron, Realtor for the Denver metro area, including Castle Rock, Parker, Littleton, Arvada, all of your amazing suburbs in and around Denver. So please hit me up at the information on the screen when you are thinking of a move to the Denver metro area, or maybe a move out of the Denver metro area if you're thinking of selling a home. I specialize in that as well. So make sure you hit me up, call, text, or email. I would love to help you out on your real estate needs. I got your back on all things real estate in Colorado. All right, so let's talk about cost of living in Castle Rock. I know Castle Rock has become a very popular spot over the last 10 years, but let's go back in time a little bit. When I was first searching for a home, me and my wife, and we just welcomed our first daughter into our family, and we were looking for a home in Littleton. We currently had rented and bought a townhome in Littleton. Love the Littleton area. I worked in Littleton as a police officer and kind of wanted to stay within that West Jeffco, Southwest Denver area. We started looking for homes, and everything that we could find in our price point, in that $250,000, $300,000 range, in Littleton was dated, homes that were built in the 60s and 70s. They needed total rehab jobs, and we just were not finding what we were looking for. So we ended up expanding the search a little bit. We came down to wonderful Castle Rock before it had exploded with growth, and we were finding new construction homes, or homes that were like 2-3 years old, for the same price as you would find a home that needed a full rehab in Littleton. So home prices brought us down here, and we loved the community and decided to stay. So when we first bought our home, first time we moved into the town of Castle Rock, 2012, we got a home that was just a few years old. All the finishes were new, hardwood floors, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and we got in for around $245,000. And like I said, in Littleton, that same home would have been $450 plus. But a lot has changed. Fast forward 10, 12 years, and now we are looking at explosive growth around Castle Rock, and that same home would go for about $550, $575 in today's market. And there is new construction all around Castle Rock. So when we talk about cost of living, Colorado in general is a little bit higher than the national average. We're somewhere around 20 to 30% higher than the national average when it comes to cost of living nationwide. But you got to remember that's including all the states where you do have very low cost of living, like Mississippi, Arkansas, even maybe some of the North Dakota, South Dakota areas, where home prices have not grown as much as they have in Colorado. We have a lot of people relocating here to the state. Between 50 and 80,000 people a year relocate to Colorado to call it home, which has in turn driven up prices. Colorado is still about 30% lower cost of living than places in California like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. We're kind of on par with some areas of Texas like Austin and some parts of the Dallas market, and we are still cheaper than a lot of places on the East Coast like Washington, D.C., Boston, New York, and those. But specifically to Castle Rock, when we were talking about Castle Rock compared to the rest of Colorado, Castle Rock is located in Douglas County, which is on the south end of the metro area, and Douglas County has long been known as one of the more affluent counties in the metro district. So we do have a little bit higher cost of living and a little bit higher home prices here in Castle Rock. Right now we're sitting the average single family home that goes on the market today, last quarter of 2023, has been around $675,000 for a single family home, detached. Now if you are looking for a condo or a townhome, something in the multifamily range, you're going to be looking a little bit cheaper, probably in that $450,000, $475,000 range for a multifamily or a condo here in Castle Rock. Now, I did another recent video where we talked about the Denver median home price being $558,000. Denver has a lot more homes for sale. It's a lot bigger city, obviously, and a lot more options there. So when you are talking about a move to Castle Rock, you do have to take into account that you're getting a different home in Castle Rock than you would get in a lot of the urban areas of Denver. You do have pockets of Denver that are very expensive, Wash Park, Cherry Creek, and some of the others where you're looking at a starting starting price of $1 million plus. But you do also have areas where things are a lot more affordable. Athmar Park, Ruby Hill Park, where you can still get a single family home, albeit a small single family home, for about $400 to $450. So when you move to Castle Rock, you're going to find a lot of master planned community development. So you're going to have a lot of homes that are similar in size, design. So traditional subdivision feel, builders like Richmond, Lennar, Toll Brothers, and a lot of other big box nationwide builders came to Castle Rock, bought up a lot of land, and built these big subdivisions. Now, what do you get for your money here in Castle Rock? Well, if you are looking in that median price point in this last quarter, around $650,000 to $700,000, you're going to get a good size home, about minimum 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but you can get even a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house for that price in the Castle Rock area. And you're going to find that the neighborhoods are very well taken care of, very well maintained. A lot of Castle Rock is fairly new. There is some parts that are older. Castle Rock as a town is about 100 years old, so there are old town, downtown areas that are very charming and classic and vintage. But for the most part, you're going to find a lot of newer style subdivisions with a lot of green belts running through the neighborhood. And that's why so many people love it here. And that's why we decided to call it home, because the neighborhood feel is very nice, very safe. Kids can go out, ride their bikes on the trails, and you don't have to, worry about them getting lost. You have a neighborhood park usually within most of the neighborhoods here. So they wanted to make it so that you had some place to take the kids that was within walking distance. Even though Castle Rock is very car dependent and you're going to need a car to get to most of the venues and different things that you want to do around town, they did want to take that aspect and make it so that you could have small neighborhood feel and walk to different parks. Also, at that $675 price point, you're generally going to get a newer home than you'll find in a lot of different areas of the state, especially in inner city Denver. So I know when you're shopping for a home in Denver, depending on what neighborhood you're in, all the homes might have been built in the 50s and 60s and have very tight quarters, smaller rooms, tighter living spaces. For some people that's great, but for me and my family, I knew we needed a lot more space. We needed room to spread out, breathe, for the kids to have a little bit of space of their own, for them to have maybe a basement to play in, and something that would give us just a little bit more breathing room than the homes that you would find in Denver. So moving to Castle Rock, you will find the homes are larger square footage. You're probably looking in the range of 2,000 square feet to 3,000 square feet for most of your single family homes. And like I said, for that price, you can get a lot more square footage than you would find in some areas of inner city Denver. All right, now average incomes in and around Castle Rock. Who lives here? The median household income for family in Castle Rock is about $120,000. Yes, that is higher than the national average. Most people that live in Castle Rock actually commute to work, so many, like myself, moved down here when home prices were a little bit cheaper, but me, as in real estate, I work all over the state, so commuting to different areas. Castle Rock was kind of centrally located if I wanted to work in Denver or if I wanted to work down in Colorado Springs. We do have some people that commute either direction. We do have a lot of people that work from home, and then a large portion of the population here in Castle Rock work either in that Denver Tech Center area, or they work for Lockheed Martin, the space program, or they may work for a government agency somewhere in between there as well. So a lot of employment here is actually done outside of the city of Castle Rock. Because it is more of a bedroom style community. You have a lot of neighborhoods, you have your rec centers, parks, outdoor activities, and you do have shopping in your big box stores. But for the most part, a lot of the professional white collar jobs are done outside of the Castle Rock. And if you're looking for a rental here in Castle Rock, we don't have a ton of apartment buildings. You'll find a lot more of those further north into the Denver metro area within that C470 bubble around Denver. But when you are looking for a rental in Castle Rock, you can expect to pay similar prices to what you will find in Denver. So median rental price is sitting right around $2,000 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Now, a lot of the apartments that are going into Castle Rock are higher end. There's not a lot of affordable options. They are making a lot more, luxury style living apartments here in Castle Rock. So if you're looking for more affordable options, further north up into Denver and Inglewood would probably be the best bet for a rental. Okay, some other unique things here to Castle Rock and to other subdivisions or towns that are like Castle Rock, maybe like Parker, is you've got to pay attention to your HOA fees and dues, and what does that entirely cover. Now, so many of the newer developments are going to have an HOA. It just makes it a little bit more uniformed, and it clears up any confusion as to who handles these areas that are kind of no man's land. When you first turn into your neighborhood and you have these green belts and different medians in the roadway and trees and different decorations and the fencing for the outside of the neighborhood. If you don't have an HOA, it's kind of confusing. It's like, hey, whose responsibility is that? Joe who lives on the corner isn't just going to mow that grass and pay for the watering of that grass when it needs to be done out of the goodness of his heart. So having an established HOA is actually very nice to, one, identify all those things, and two, have some clarity on who is responsible for what, and it keeps out some of the more peculiar things that might happen in a neighborhood. Someone wanting to pop the top on their roof and build a 4-story home, or paint their home some ridiculous color that's going to really kind of drag down the values of the neighborhood. So an HOA, as frustrating as they are and as many fights as I've had with them, can be a benefit to you and your property values going forward. So make sure that you're identifying that the HOA, one, is well run, and two, has the interests of the community at heart and is managing their funds properly. We have a specific community here in Castle Rock that has had a big problem with their HOA as a whole, and that is related to the insurance coverage that they are looking to get for their neighborhood. This particular townhome development has had their HOA fees go from $85 a month to $800 a month, or at least it's proposed that they're going to $800 a month, and that's just not sustainable for a lot of people. So make sure that you're doing a good job and have somebody on your team that's going to do a good job and make sure they vet some of those HOA issues before you get into a new home, because the last thing you want is to move in and have your HOA and insurance dues skyrocket over the next few years. Recently, we just had a property tax assessment. This was a year of property tax assessments, and many of us in Douglas County saw our property taxes rise significantly. So make sure when you are shopping for a home, it should be identified in the MLS listing what the taxes are for that year, and that you will be going off the most recent mill levy when you purchase your home. If they try to say, hey, we're gonna go off of what last year's taxes were, don't listen to them. That's a red flag. You want to make sure you're getting the best information possible and that you are not going to be responsible for a shortfall in the payment on taxes when they come due. So unfortunately, when they did a lot of the property tax assessment for this year, I don't know the particular program they used. Maybe it was similar to Zillow's property evaluation estimator, but they just kind of slapped new evaluations as far as what your home is worth on everybody in Douglas County and as in the state as a whole. And a lot of these property valuations came in significantly higher. I know for my personal residence, they sent out the property evaluation and it was $80,000 more than the home would sell for today. And I know they were looking at data from the past 6 months, but I was able to put together an appeal for them using data from the last 6 months when the assessment took place, and got that property tax evaluation adjusted back down so that I'm not responsible for paying more than my home is worth. So if you have lived in Colorado, you probably experienced this over the last year, and I hope you had somebody in your corner that was able to help you get that assessment contested and hopefully brought down to a more appropriate level. Okay, to recap, the cost of living in Castle Rock is going to be a little bit higher than you'll find in other parts of the state, but you are going to get more house for your money when you compare it to a couple of the other neighborhoods, especially some pockets of Denver. You will be able to get a larger home, probably for the same price that you would pay for a smaller home in that Denver metro hub. As far as the other things that are tied into cost of living, like your transportation, it's going to be very equal to a lot of other areas around the Denver metro. Gas, I've noticed, is about 50 cents cheaper in Castle Rock than I have seen in Denver and in some of the urban parts of Denver, so that's a big plus. Food cost, healthcare cost, all are going to be on par with the rest of the state. We do have a little bit lower energy bills down here in Castle Rock compared to the Denver metro area. We have a couple different companies, different company for oil and gas than services the Denver metro area, so that has helped keep our costs a little bit lower. It's not, really enough to write home about, maybe 5% cheaper than people in the Denver metro area, but every little bit helps when you're trying to save money, of course. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like more information about Castle Rock, what it's like living here, I have another video that I did recently where I give a full vlog tour of the city. But when you are thinking of a move to Castle Rock, Parker, or maybe just some other place in Denver, make sure you hit me up at the information on the screen. As much as I love making these videos, I love helping people with their real estate needs and finding them that forever home even more. Until next time.